morning, everyone. Welcome to the OKcontract Builders Day. So we are starting with a cross-chain liquidity fragmentation panel. So we'll have today Pauline from Wormhole Foundation and Mathieu from Polygon Labs. But anyway, you guys introduce yourselves, okay? And I'm Ida from OKcontract.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Sure. So my name is Pauline. I'm the developer relation engineer at Wormhole. So Wormhole Foundation is, Wormhole is an interoperability protocol. So basically, we're facilitating cross-message passing between ecosystem.
I'm Matthew. I am on the Polygon DeFi BD team. Been in the space for a little bit over 4.5 years, but actually just started at Polygon in December. Before this, I was working at a DeFi protocol for 2 years, and before that was at Libra working on Facebook's failed attempt at a payment blockchain. So,
nice, thanks. Okay, so yeah, as at OKcontract, our focus is on front end and solving user experience and developer experience problems. Actually, I'd like to start by asking about what do you think about existing bridging solutions and how are they adopted by users today? And what hurdles do you see, and what maybe opportunities you see?
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few problems with the bridging solutions as they exist today. For the longer tail assets especially, there's a lot of slippage when trying to facilitate cross-chain transactions. Bridging has had a little bit of a rough history from the past 5 years. I remember about 2 years ago, this one venture capital firm called Ribbit Capital got a bunch of chief security officers and people from the industry together with a bunch of people from the government, Treasury Office, OCC, all these people, and all they were talking about was the bridging and the hacks, the security vulnerabilities that you seen in Ronin and before she got there, I guess Wormhole. But yeah, so that's some of the problems in terms of the size and in the trust.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big topic. What are the difficulty with the bridges? Regarding the security, yeah, 100%. I mean, bridges become the point of failure when at some point, but also something that people need to know is that there is no other company in the ecosystem that spend more time and more money on auditing. Literally, we are talking about millions of dollars that get thrown at auditing process from companies that have bridges. So it's obviously taken seriously. It's not, nobody wants to get hacked. But yeah, it happens, as we've seen lately as well. Then what are the problems? We're going to talk into details, I think, about the UX. But I think there's also, right now in the industry, there are a lot more solutions that are coming for bridges. And I can see that before I work in Interop, I was working for a layer 2 protocol. I worked at Mental. And so when you work also in the R2 rollup ecosystem, you also have bridges, even though it's not exactly cross-chain, but there's a lot of friction there as well for the layer 2 ecosystem. And I used to be a front-end developer, actually. So the UX for me, when I entered Web3, was a bit what's happening here? It was the amount of friction you have on the front end is pretty big. But all to say that bridging, if you spend that much money on auditing, is also because it is not a trivial process, actually. People think it is just maybe transiting money from one side to another. Actually, cross-chain bridges has a lot of steps that are not easy to make. And blockchain is not an API call, right? So the friction we see on the bridging ecosystem is also due to some restriction technically that the blockchain has to start with. So yeah.
I guess one other thing that she was kind of saying is what the developers used to tell me when I was on the protocol side is there's just like a lack of standardization in a bunch of different solutions.
Yeah.
And at least where we are today, there isn't like a clear winner. So I think it drives a lot of friction for the developers and like making choices. And
yeah, I think on that, not that I disagree. I agree that there's not much standardization, and but it always comes down to the idea, and like that is more of a maybe more like what we think in terms of value for crypto and Web3 in general. But like, should we have a canonical bridge for every chain that works on one single solution and everybody would adapt to it? Or do we go for something that, I mean, at the end, it's a very competitive market. So do we want to have, do we want to leave this open to many different solutions and let the people try and maybe make the process, or like try at least to make it as simple and as fast as possible and find the best option? I mean, at the end of the day, I think as long as it's decentralized and permissionless, that is my opinion, is not representing maybe everyone at Wormhole, but to me, that is the main thing. Whether it is standardized or not, I understand as a developer how easier it is if things are standardized, for sure.
yeah, I mean, competition drives innovation, which drives the best products, which attracts the best users. So I think it's needed anyway.
Okay, so do you think that from the developer's standpoint, as you mentioned, Pauline, do we actually need to simplify the existing solutions, or some kind of try to find some standard solution? And how do you, in general, think about, I'm a dApp developer, should I go for like multi-chain dApp or cross-chain? Like what's the choice I have, and what are the main challenges and let's say benefits of those choices that I'm facing, and what you see actually in your ecosystem? Maybe if you can share in some examples, like in the ecosystems.
Yeah, sure. So as I said before, I worked for a layer 2, right? So when you work for a layer 2 as a DevRel, your main goal is to find, I mean, ecosystem love native app, right? Like everybody wants this app to be natively from their chain, right? So if you are a developer and you're building an application and you have a project, maybe unless it is inherently from the project that you need to go cross-chain or you need to build multi-chain natively, it's one maybe, but most of those apps don't need that from the beginning, right? They don't necessarily need it. So first, ecosystem want, obviously, those apps on their network. So that is, as a developer, if you are wondering whether or not you should go multi-chain from the start, you really have to wonder, like you really have to think, what is your app for? Like what is your project? Who is your audience? Who are you trying to get? Because of course, going multi-chain will drive like higher growth. You will get more user, you get more liquidity, you will like, so it has a massive advantage. But when you start, what are you building? Like, you know, maybe you don't need to go multi-chain. So that is the first thing. The second thing, when you reach what we see the most, because I am in charge of the integrator support, so what I see the most is like people, they come and they, for instance, they want to integrate with Wormhole, and they're like, we have this token, and we want to make sure that this token can be transferred to 40+ chain natively. That is a very common use case. Then you have to, you have many interop solutions out there, right? Like you could go for standard bridging, you can go for like a token standard, you can, I think what is very important, and that is really my opinion as a developer, and I think a lot of developers will share that, is that the DevX needs to be good. Like at the end of the day, a developer would use a technology for two reasons. Either because he's been told by the product manager, we have to go there because BD said, oh yeah, there's a lot of money, like we have to go there, which the developer doesn't care, he just does it because he's been told. Or the technical product manager will be, okay, let's see what kind of solution we have there, and which one is the one that is gonna be the best and the easiest on technical standard, right? So it's very, very important for a interrupt solution to be secure, but you also have an extremely good UX and DevX. Because otherwise, if everything becomes complicated and the dev cannot understand what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to integrate, then you add too much friction, and usually you lose them very quickly.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna give like a more of a unique take on the business side, which is a little bit different from the developer side. Speaking as I was on the foundation, now I actually just joined 3 months ago and was on a protocol side before. I think in the past few years, there's just been like a little bit of an incentive misalignment between protocol teams and L2s. And what I mean by that is on the L2 side, they want to make sure they're capturing the latest and greatest narrative. They want their users not to leave their chain, but to be able to access all these new tokens on their chain, and they have a ton of money. The protocols, whether they have product market fit or not, they will go and basically hunt for grants, trying to work out the best deals with these different L2s, figuring out how to leverage their brand, and then before actually deciding to come to the L2. So there's not like that embedded loyalty with the founders. It's kind of like flaky in some ways, in my opinion. And so it has worked out for some teams, and I can give a few examples. One would be Athena. They built true product market fit. They grew a ton really, really fast, and then they were able to leverage that success to go to different chains. I have friends at other teams, like a lot of people took a different path where they would launch on one chain, then try to get a grant on the next chain before having that billboard of TVL or that billboard of liquidity. And then what happened is like the liquidity is fragmented across these different chains, and that ends up not being the best decision in the long run, and a lot of these startups actually fail. And so I think some of that narrative is going to change in the next few years as like the interops kind of come to, these solutions come to fruition. Obviously at Polygon, we'll, I don't need to show the eye glare, but we're trying to build for this future where we think there will be a lot of chains, and they will want to own the sequencer revenue and capture that as a part of that stack. And then they can kind of connect to all these other chains to the ag layer bridge, rather than having to pick and choose which chain, whether it's Monad or Bear Chain or Movement, or like which of these chains they want to kind of get in bed with or test the waters with. So hopefully in the future, I think this problem will go away.
And what about the maintenance? Actually, do you have like any examples? What's the cost of the maintenance of like when you implementing the like let's say for your dApp you want to go multi-chain, and you basically how much does it cost you this decision as a developer? Maybe I don't know if you have any particular examples that you have seen. Is there any particular cost to going and maintaining actually your
So you're talking about maintaining the
like,
infrastructure?
The integration, for instance, with Wormhole, because you're also updating, right? So
well, actually, the integration cost for the integrators is zero at this point. We don't charge any fee. The only, there is no, actually, we charge fees for before, because on Solana there was no automatic relayer, so they actually don't charge anything else than what it costs to run. Now there's a new automatic relayer for Sui and Solana, so actually we don't have to do that. But for the integrators, there's no cost. We don't charge fees. There's only the network fees that is from the source chain. We don't decide the network fee, so when people is like, okay, it's 5 SOL to deploy a contract, well, like, I talk to Solana, not me. Actually, to go multi-chain is cheap. I mean, it's cheap in the sense, it's only added value. And we try to make the integration process as smooth as possible, of course, because our goal is to have everyone and every chain to be integrated via us. So, I mean, the cost is none to my knowledge. But of course, there's also another thing you can do, and this is what we've been trying to do, is that most of the time you need still an developer, right, to integrate your solution. And there's a difference between integrating a product that makes your token go multi-chain and having your chain integrated inside the whole bridge or inside the whole Wormhole protocol. That is two different things, okay? So if your chain, your new chain, your bearer chain, you want to come to Wormhole, and you want to be integrated in the network, that is one thing, okay? This is a complete different process. But for most of the others, it's just about them using our protocol, and that it comes at no cost for them.
Okay. So Mathieu, do you have any examples from the Aglair or Polygon side?
I could talk about where we are in Aglair.
I mean, like about especially if you are a developer, you are developing a dApp, and basically you will be implementing Aglair, let's say. Like how much does it cost you on the developer work part to do these efforts to integrate, and so basically what are the benefits and what are the, let's say, challenges that you...
Yeah, so where Aglair is today, I think we're at V0.2. When V0.3 is released sometime in Q2, that'll basically allow any EVM chain to connect to the Aglair. It still won't be as performant, so that comes on V0.4, which will be like late summer or early fall. In terms of the developer resources and the cost to connect to Aglair, Polygon has CDKs and additionally like a bunch of integration support and I guess like money to help people get it over the line as well. I'm not really specifically working on that work stream, so I can't talk to the developer kind of stuff. But
so basically, there is like initial effort to be done to integrate, but then you'll say like there is no additional work to do on the dApp side.
I think once it's connected, it's like there's not as much maintenance work as there is for other kind of interoperability solutions.
Are you guys open source?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so we discussed the DevX, like developer experience. I'd like to go back to the user experience. So basically, because when you are a developer, you mainly have to think about the end user. And yeah, I'd like to ask you, what do you see as main hurdles, like main, let's say, issues on the user experience side today? Like when users are using a bridging solution, what are the main issues they're having, and like how do you think we could solve them? And is the future like get this completely behind the scenes and do as transparent as possible for the end user, or like give us some ideas?
So there's one thing also that when I started, I made a lot of assumption on what people knew about interoperability. I felt that everybody knew a lot, and somehow things were very clear, not just for developer, for user as well. I think there is a big knowledge gap, like on how bridges work. And the main thing is when people think about a bridge, like Wormhole, they think about a wrap asset, okay? So basically you have one asset on chain A, you bridge it to go on chain B, and basically what's happening is that you delegate the ownership of your contract, so you will have the token bridged contract create a wrapped version of your asset and mint it again on the destination chain. That's basically what happened on the, and this is why we have all this fragmentation, because so then you end up with a wrapped version. So how many times, the first time you're gonna bridge, you bridge ETH and you end up with like wrapped ETH, you know, what the hell is this? What do I do with this now? It's very difficult actually. The main issue is that people do not fully understand what is happening in the background. And this is why in Web 2, for instance, you have, when you're a front-end developer and you have UX designer and so on, like you basically educate the user via the UI. Like the user doesn't need to fully know what he's doing there, right? Like he somehow follow a UX flow and then would end up having a result. The problem with bridging is that it's very difficult to explain to these people what is actually happening, because a wrap asset is actually many contract call function. Like it's many calls. It's not easy to mint something will cost gas. On a chain, it would actually, you wait for finality. So you wait for 17 minutes on Ethereum, and like nobody wants to wait 17 minutes to have the
Wait times.
Yeah, so like, that means like if you go to a bridge and like to fully understand what's happening, you need to know what finality is, what are cross-chain transfer are. Like you already are a certain level of understanding of what's happening in this industry. A lot of people think bridging is swapping. It's not the same thing either. When you swap assets, you don't bridge necessarily a cross-chain. So what I'm saying is that the UX is complicated because there is the assumption that the user knows what he's doing. And actually, it requires quite a lot of knowledge to know what's happening. And so the abstraction of all of this, which is coming, and this is what we do a lot at Wormhole, but the idea is that the wrapping asset is, in my opinion, a bit of an annoying thing. Like, if we could get rid of the wrapping asset, it would be better. And so what you want is the UX where the person can basically say, okay, I want my asset on that chain, and I want to make a bridge, I want to cross to another, because I see yield on another chain, and I'm more interested in having my fund there. Okay, so I want to bridge, I want to swap, and I want to deposit in one click, right? That is the end goal, basically.
So the end goal is, for a user, not to see all this complicated.
Yes, it's like and then the chain abstraction, of course, behind, because who cares so much on which chain you are? Like you need to know where you want to go. That's pretty much it. And then this would have to step away from a regular wrapping assets on the bridge. And this is what Intent Protocol do. And it's abstracting all of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we were obviously focused on the ag layer in the bridge there, but we're definitely a strong believer in Intents as like the best user experience, at least for right now. I think some way that I kind of think about it is like Citadel and Robinhood and something like that, where you have inventory on chain A and chain B that you can kind of process very quickly. But for like more comprehensive and deeper liquidity movements, you kind of need this like secured bridge with like a decentralization layer underneath.
Yeah, I think, no, and just to like, because this is the moment where like my BD team would say, oh, you have to show Wormhole here. So actually we're releasing today a intent, so it's called Wormhole Settlement. So basically it's an intent-based protocol, so it's built on top of Wormhole. And basically that's what it does. You leverage the whole Wormhole protocol, and you're able to do, so the way intent work, I don't know if everybody is very familiar with it, but like...
you can go into more details.
Okay, so intent is basically when you have, so the user doesn't do anything, he wants to deposit. Let's say you want to send fund from one chain to another, and you want to go across ecosystem. But the intent means that there is a market maker in the middle that is called a solver. And what it does is that this solver takes the bid, okay? It takes the bid with you. The problem is, if you want, for instance, to send the fund, like today, I want to send from Ethereum to Solana, you have to wait for the fund to be, or like it goes both ways, right? But Ethereum is not fast, right? So you're gonna have to wait 17 minutes to have your fund. I mean, it's not possible because there is slippage, because there is, so to make that bid very fast, what it does is the solver takes the bid, and he takes the risk, basically, to give you the money before the full settlement is done. So it's called, that's why we call it Wormhole Settlement. So, and that's what intent does, basically. It's like, it's called faster than finality. And the idea that you have faster than finality is because you don't wait for the full finality because you don't have the time. This is like a trading, so you cannot wait because in a few seconds, the slippage can completely be different, right? So intent-based, like across the bridge, do that. and this is what Wormhole is basically doing, and it will go through USDC, but basically Solana is the hub chain where the liquidity is, and that's why it's very fast also.
Okay, so to sum up, I'd like to ask you like the last question. Yeah, actually, what would be like the main goal, do you think, in the future? Is it aggregating the most of the chains from the developer and user experience perspective? So we are not very transparent. Is it this speed, as you mentioned? Basically, getting is very like faster for the user, so there is no wait times or there is no so much risks. What would you say is like the end game for the cross-chain liquidity solutions? Maybe Matthew, you want to.
Yeah, I mean, we want to give the users what they want. In order to do that, we need to enable developers to focus on what they're good at. So what AgLayer will do is we'll connect not only all EVM chains, but we'll also be connecting to Solana, the OP stack. We don't need permission to connect to all these other chains, whereas the OP super chain, some of these are more like clusters, like Cosmos. AgLayer will kind of be connected to everything. The kind of premise of AgLayer too is we've had a lot of success with some like gaming companies where they're really happy about AgLayer because they don't need to worry about liquidity. They don't need to worry about some of like these DeFi use cases, but they can kind of still tap into them cross-chain without their users actually having to leave the chain. So like that's kind of like how I envision that, I guess, playing out. We think as these applications grow and demand more block space, like for example, a Perp exchange is doing a lot of volume. As you can see with like Hyperliquid and stuff, that will eventually want their own chain, their own block space, earn their own sequencer revenue, but then also be able to tap the users of like OKX chain is launching an X chain on AgLayer. And like we'll have like I think like over 30 are signed up right now, and a lot of announcements coming later this year. So.
Okay. So
yeah.
Any also?
Yeah. I think the end goal is really to not have for anyone to fully understand what is happening. Like you don't want any friction on the UX. You just want it very easy. And I think what is very important for us, at least at Wormhole, is two things. So we are open source, and we try to be as decentralized as possible and permissionless. And the idea is that anyone could come. You can check anything that is happening on the bridge. Like you can retrieve any sort of verification. Everything is completely transparent from any chain to any chain. You can index any data you want. Like it's the most transparent way of bridging in the sense that there's nothing that is closed or private. So the idea is that you have the most permissionless way to make everyone come plug in. Unfortunately, it's not right now possible because we still need to have to integrate each chain, but on the long term is that everyone can come, plug into Wormhole, use it from any chain to any chain, and everything is just fully transparent, so you can see everything that is happening at any time. And then
when will it be happening?
Well, the transparency, it's already there. You can like we have that. We have a Wormhole scan. You can see any transaction that's happening. Now for the fact that everyone can come and plug in. It's always the trade-off with security, right? Like you want to make sure that everyone who plug into your protocol is 100% a good actor, and then they follow well So as we said at the beginning, I mean, security is so important that you really cannot take the gamble there. So it has to be a very architectural decision, but it's the end goal for sure. But yeah.
Nice. Okay, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts about those cross-chain liquidity fragmentation and hurdles for users and developers. And yeah, good work.
Yeah, thank you to OKcontract, and definitely check out what they're building. We're excited to build with them some cool AI stuff too. So.